Yuan Ping usually smiles with the best temper, but at this moment he looked at the few ancestors in front of him with an icy expression. Over the long years, your Innate Primordial Life Camp has lost 20 ancestors in our hands. You have also clashed with other camps, losing 15 ancestors. Altogether, you have only produced 32 ancestors, so the overall number has still decreased. The Infinite Great Serpent and several others, their expressions slightly changed. Indeed, as the largest group in the infinite primordial space, their ancestors' numbers have somewhat decreased since fighting the Cultivator Camp repeatedly. This is also why some ancestors within them didn't want to engage in combat with the Cultivator Camp. After all, the lords are undying and undying, fighting over and over again. What's the good outcome in that? U8, isn't it proof that individual strength is more important? That ball of endless light had a very strong oppressive force. Innate primordial life born with infinite longevity should pursue the ultimate in strength with infinite lifespan. Silent Extinction Ancestor also said, to pursue ultimate strength, one must have the determination to do whatever it takes. Even if we fail and completely return to silence, we would gladly accept it. Infinite Snake Ancestor and Infinite Fire Ancestor looked at the 8 lords. The two of them had reached the realm of undying and undying even more calmly. The source world origin is the best resource for the Innate Primordial Life Camp. Even if I no longer need it, the entire camp does. Infinite Snake Ancestor said, my other followers in the infinite race need it too. The 3,600 world groups you occupy are the prosperous 3,600 world groups, with abundant source world numbers. Infinite Fire Ancestor said, if you're willing to back off, retreat to 1,200 world groups. Our Innate Primordial Life Camp can take a step back and stop fighting. The 8 lords looked at them coldly, not bothering to refute. Then just wait. Infinite Snake Ancestor and others also returned to the Initial Ancestor body. Initial Ancestor, upon its own path, reached the utmost. It could calmly watch over the winds and storms in the entire infinite primordial space. No matter how strong the force is, it could not threaten it in the slightest. But as a member of the Innate Primordial Life Camp, it also willingly assists its kin. They are seeking support. Starlight said, as many avatars walking the future lines have already glimpsed many possibilities, though there are also those within the Innate Primordial Life Camp opposed to going to war with us. But to save many ancestors and ensure their camp's advantage, there should be substantial forces arriving to support. Luo Feng and the 7 of them firmly believed in what Starlight said. These ancestors hiding within Initial Ancestor do so because they cannot retreat. Before Starlight Lord, who has the utmost accomplishments in time and space, they cannot escape. Their retreating process would instead show many flaws. Under the combined all-out attack of the 8 lords, would likely result in the death of several ancestors. Hiding inside the Initial Ancestor, waiting for support was the best choice. How many ancestors will support them? Yuan asked. Starlight said, at least 30 ancestors will come to support. Luo Feng, Jin, Ming Huang, Mo Man, Naigu, Wulan, the 6 of them listened and their expressions slightly changed. With so many ancestors coming, it would mean more than 100 ancestors working together. The deterrence power would be too terrifying. When it involves the tribe's destiny, the 9 emperors will also gather. Starlight emphasized, we have to prepare well. Prioritize defense, rather give up some opportunities, also must ensure the stability of the battle array. Afterward, seek chances to counterattack. Yuan said, with Luo Feng present, we do not fear prolonged combat. Immediately, Yuan, Jin, Wulan, Ming Huang, Naigu, Starlight, Mo Man, Luo Feng, the 8 lords naturally formed a battle array, covering the region where the Initial Lord was guarding it. Those weaker ancestors, daring to show their true body, would face the encirclement and attack by the 8 of them. Land of Eternity. This is a place where all existences that have reached the level of undying and undying throughout the infinite primordial space have the qualifications to come and have a place here. It is a piece of land naturally nurtured by the infinite primordial space. A grain of dust from this land can suppress a high-level primordial life. The intangible pressure of the land of eternity can turn a world-level primordial life into powder. Like the ancestors of the Innate Primordial Life Camp, over 90% have no qualification to come here. This vast flat continent only has an ancient round table. The round table has endless secret patterns mysteries, and at the moment has 28 seats around it, with 3 figures currently sitting there. Infinite primordial space, the distances between each other are too far, they are accustomed to meeting here. The 8th Cultivator Lord. A group of gray mist sitting on one of the seats, and I appeared on the surface of the mist, watching the distant battle with interest. The Cultivator Camp is too special. They are weak creatures within the source world gradually cultivating, ultimately mastering the essence of supreme power, reaching a state parallel to ours. Indeed very special, each of their strength is quite strong. I quite like Starlight and am friends with Ming Huang. A figure wearing white battle armor coldly watched from afar, but that one called Jean is too despicable and shameless. Last time at the Abyss of Destruction, unable to confront me directly, actually attacked me while I was in the midst of slaughter. I despise these contemptible souls the most. This figure in white battle armor, filled intensely with the aura of destruction. Golden Lord, Lord Mo Man, Lord Naigu, just these 3 are the most contemptible in the Cultivator Camp. A feathered creature sitting there had a peaceful expression, with warm white feathers all over. His presence was discreetly ordinary, but he is also one of the presences at the pinnacle of the infinite primordial space. Lord Naigu doesn't threaten me one-on-one, but he teamed up with Golden Lord and Lord Mo Man. The three lords ambushed me as one. Haha, heard your feathers were all plucked clean. The white battle armor laughed. Cough shio. The feathered creature burst into anger. My fault, my fault. The white battle armor said, waving a hand in front of him, revealing the image of the feathered creature gravely injured, feathers falling off, leaving just some short feathers, blood covering the body. Oh, I did remember incorrectly, you still had lots of feathers left. The feathered creature glared at him. The figure in white battle armor smiled again as he put away the images. At his level, collecting jokes of those on the same level was quite a hobby. He had no tribe, no companions, existing in isolation, yet having reached such power, he had to find some fun for himself. The feathered creature also endured it. He had descendants, unlike Kafushio, who existed alone, feared no one, and dared to insert himself wherever there was a commotion. Kafushio, Feather Emperor. That mass of gray mist gazed at the distant battlefield. 8 lords joining forces can suppress 73 ancestors, kill 3, and drive the remaining 70 ancestors to retreat. These cultivator lords are indeed formidable. With them working together, even in the infinite primordial space, they are an extremely strong force. Feather Emperor nodded, somewhat envious. Because the group he commanded had only him who could rank in the land of eternity. Is the Cultivator Camp gaining the upper hand? We also conquered 3 world groups of the Cultivator Camp. When the war ends, will the 8 lords target us? Some ancient beings watched the battlefield from afar, feeling a bit uneasy. During the confrontation between the 2 camps, some other camps also took the opportunity to occupy several world groups. Some occupied 2 or 3 world groups, others even seized over 100 world groups. Originally thought the Cultivator Camp would surely fail. The Innate Primordial Life Camp occupied the most world groups, we could have shared a bit. Who would have thought the situation to reverse? Once the Cultivator Camp wins, those 8 lords likely wouldn't rest. Taking advantage of the situation, there are 12 forces invading world groups. Does the Cultivator Camp dare go full-on war with them? Among these 12 forces, some are strong, some weak. The strongest force is the Ice Peak Camp. The Ice Peak Camp is an alliance formed by 12 beings of the land of eternity. Although their number is far less than the Innate Primordial Life Camp, in terms of deterrence, the Ice Peak Camp is more terrifying because most of them have no tribe concerns, they act naturally more domineering and lawless. They actually don't care much about the source world origin. What they need are the extremely special and precious resources nurtured within the vast territory. In the eyes of the Ice Peak Camp, occupying over 100 world groups is already very giving face to the Cultivator Camp. After all, if they exerted themselves they could seize several times the territory. We've only occupied over 100 world groups, what can the Cultivator Camp do? Do they dare go to war with us? The Ice Peak Camp didn't care at all. Cultivator Territory Dark World Group, Land of Origin Source World. Luo Feng stood on a terrace of the Huyang City Lord's mansion. At this moment his body had completely transformed, although his energy reserve was only 1% of the total, this reserve was already comparable to the main battle avatar of the smallest lord among them, Lord Mo Man. The Cultivator Camp faces too many crises. Only after breaking through did Luo Feng understand many secrets. On Earth, wherever people are, there is conflict. In infinite primordial space there are also various conflicts. The Innate Primordial Life Camp is considered the most hostile force. Yet with other camp forces, there are also many big and small conflicts. Brother Yuan can come all the way from the most humble beginnings, it's not easy. Luo Feng knew the situation of the Cultivator Camp was much better than it was early on, thanks to the appearance of several lords including Starlight Lord. The crises of the Cultivator Camp will be resolved one by one in the future. Luo Feng had the patience. As a lord with an infinitely long lifespan he has the time to keep fighting. Each lord was filled with confidence in the future. Lord Qing the most wonderful thing. Luo Feng as a creature of his homeland source world, even after becoming a lord, the source world origin didn't resist him, allowing LuoFeng's power to easily penetrate and effortlessly refine and control the entire origin. After complete control, the homeland source world seemed to become his other physical body. At this moment, the entire land of origin source world had no secrets in front of him anymore. Everything was completely under his control, including the recorded time river of the land of origin. In the time river, countless creatures rise and fall, whether alive or dead, these creatures continued to luminously exist on their former timelines. Only those who had died, their timelines were just a segment already stopped. Luo Feng could lift these creatures from the time river, allowing their timelines to continue, even to persist eternally. Within the scope of the source world, within the braided cage, Luo Feng could indeed allow them eternal life. Giant Axe Senior. Luo Feng saw those familiar, whether strong or weak figures. He even saw the blissful life of his teacher, mountain-sitting guest, when he was still God King Jin. Every regret could be remedied. This is what is most wonderful about becoming a lord. Luo Feng smiled. The first holy land of the Innate Primordial Life Camp is the Infinite World, home to the Infinite Great Serpent Clan, with more than 10 ancestors at the ancestor level. The second holy land is the Giant God Realm, which is also a special world no less than the Infinite World. The life born here is a world-level primordial life from birth. Their size is among the largest in the Innate Primordial Life Camp. The group proliferated in the Giant God Realm is also known as the Giant God Race. which is the second largest group, second only to the Infinite Great Serpent clan, with 10 reaching the Ancestor level. Buzz. The Infinite Snake Ancestor, Silent Extinction Ancestor, Inference Fire Ancestor, Infinite Ancestor with a single thought, their incarnations descended upon the Giant God Realm. The Giant God Realm is inhabited by thousands of gigantic creatures, at least 20 to 30% the size of the Source World. Some enormous beings comparable to Lord Wulong looked distantly at the four incarnations. The Infinite Snake Ancestor and the others have arrived. I heard they clashed with the Cultivator Camp and fell behind. Now they come to seek our help. Each gigantic creature communicated telepathically, gloating. The Giant God race and the Infinite race have significant conflicts. However, currently, the Infinite Snake Ancestor holds the highest prestige in the Innate Primordial Life Camp. After all, besides its formidable strength, the Infinite Snake Ancestor is also undying and undying. Giant God Brother. The four incarnations arrived at a spot, looking at a massive creature before them. It is a bipedal giant beast, covered in black and golden scales with a pair of massive wings besides its arms. Just sitting there, it dwarfs the Source World. In terms of size across the entire Infinite Primordial World, it ranks among the top 3. It is several times larger than Wulong. It is one of the 9 emperors of the Innate Primordial Life Camp, the Giant God Emperor. Also the leader of the Giant God race. This time, the 3 emperors who did not participate in the battle are led by the Giant God Emperor. In terms of sheer frontal power, it is considered the most formidable among the 9 emperors. However, its ability to protect itself is weaker, and several beings can threaten its existence. The Cultivator Lord Yuan is particularly restraining it. Naturally, its status in the Innate Primordial Life Camp is far weaker than the Infinite Snake Ancestor. I heard you were defeated? The Giant God Emperor looked with great interest at the 4. A new lord has appeared, joining forces with 8 lords, making it very tricky. The Infinite Snake Ancestor said, "We indeed cannot win, so we need your help from you 3. The Giant God Emperor nodded slightly, and then 2 terrifying forces appeared beside them. A massive black mist avian descended nearby, its countless black mist like countless calamities coalesced, naturally bringing down endless calamity power when engaging with enemies. Another was a fat giant beast with sleek fur, its colorful fur constantly changing, with each strand containing endless void, smiling as it looked at the 4 in front of them. Black Tide Ancestor, Primordial Beast Ancestor. All 4 incarnations greeted. Black Tide Ancestor and Primordial Beast Ancestor are also among the 9 emperors. The most crucial point is, they do not belong to any group, being unique existences. In the infinite primordial void, such unique existences mostly do not consider themselves part of the Innate Primordial Life Camp. These 2 have excellent relations with the Giant God Emperor and tacitly acknowledge themselves as part of the Innate Primordial Life Camp. They rarely take action at least. You all should understand this battle cannot be lost. The Infinite Snake Ancestor said, "Considering the full strength of our group, if we lose to the Cultivator Camp, our Innate Primordial Life Camp's intimidating power will be greatly reduced in the future. I don't like war." The Giant God Emperor sighed softly. It prefers calmly watching the myriad things in the infinite primordial space, observing various grudges and conflicts, enjoying being a bystander. I have never withheld the resources that should be supplied to the Giant God race. The Infinite Snake Ancestor said, "At this juncture you still refuse to fight? Allowing the Cultivator Camp to trample over us." Silent Extinction Ancestor, Infinite Ancestor, Inference Fire Ancestor all looked at the Giant God Emperor. The Innate Primordial Life Camp is divided into 2 factions, one with the Infinite Snake Ancestor at its core, and the other with the Giant God Emperor at its core. I understand this battle cannot be lost. The Giant God Emperor nodded, but we are only willing to participate in this battle. After this battle we will withdraw. Beside them, the Black Tide Ancestor and Primordial Beast Ancestor also nodded, clearly agreeing with the Giant God Emperor's statement. Rest assured. The Infinite Snake Ancestor nodded, the Cultivator Camp has gained a new lord, and this new lord can instantly restore their companions to the pinnacle. They have become even trickier. After winning this battle, I will also take the opportunity to end the war. Losing the battle ends the war. Winning the battle ends the war. The difference between the 2 is significant. The Infinite Snake Ancestor needs to carry the momentum of defeating the 8 lords to prove to the entire infinite primordial space that they are still the strongest. How much do you know about the new lord? The Primordial Beast Ancestor inquired from the side. Since we are going to war, we need to understand everything about the opponent. Buzz. A multi-clawed exotic beast crawled out of space-time, its claws easily grasping individual timelines. After crawling out, it spoke, "I have investigated many past timelines and have clarified the background of the new Lord Luo Feng. Luo Feng, born in the Dark World Group, Origin Continent Origin World. There are obstacles within the Source World and little is known. It's only known that his cultivation time is very short," the multi-clawed exotic beast said. "He cultivated for less than 10,000 epochs, reaching what the Cultivator Camp calls the extreme under the braided cage, and then cultivated for less than 2,000 epochs, directly becoming a lord from under the braided cage." From under the braided cage, directly becoming a lord? The 4 incarnations as well as the Giant God Emperor, Black Tide Ancestor and Primordial Beast Ancestor were all shocked. "Yes, I haven't found any information about him becoming a world-level primordial. Even his homeland source world was only refined after he participated in the battle, the multi-clawed exotic beast said. Regardless of whether he became world-level primordial, he became a lord from under the braided cage in less than 2,000 epochs. The giant god emperor couldn't help but say, based on my understanding of the cultivator system, his talent and potential exceed those of the previous 7 lords. Truly tricky. The Infinite Snake Ancestor also felt troubled. Watching the rise of the Cultivator Camp helplessly, they have no means. Infinite Snake Ancestor indeed does not need to consume the source world origin anymore. However, for its clan, the entire Infinite Great Serpent clan, the best food is the source world origin. For the sake of the clan, it is not willing to give up. They are getting stronger, and our Innate Primordial Life Camp is also growing stronger, the Silent Extinction Ancestor said calmly. Which of the 2 great camps will win or lose is still uncertain. The 2 great camps. One side has countless source worlds, a continuous source of younger powers, and perhaps a new lord might be born. The other side has a vast infinite primordial space, countless innate primordial lives, and the speed of a new ancestor being born is much faster than a lord. Both of these great camps understand that the other is their greatest opponent. They fight the hardest against each other. Like the current Ice Peak camp, it is an alliance of 12 entities from the land of eternity, seeming very powerful. However, firstly, they have no subsequent power. Secondly, being an alliance, they are not united enough. The 2 great camps currently fighting the hardest are much more united. This Lord Luo Feng is a newly broken through lord, the giant god emperor pondered before saying, taking advantage of his current inexperience, we must destroy the cultivator camp in one fell swoop. In the future, when he becomes more comprehensively powerful, he will be much more troublesome. When do you plan to set out? Infinite Snake Ancestor asked. The sooner the better, the giant god emperor said calmly. Once the ancestors decide to gather, the speed is very fast. The giant god emperor, Primordial Beast Ancestor and Black Tide Ancestor take the lead, along with more than 20 other ancestors willing to follow them, plus some resting ancestors at the rear, totaling 35 ancestors gathering together. I will lead everyone on the journey. A multi-clawed exotic beast led these 35 ancestors, swiftly crossing multiple timelines, heading towards the cultivator territory. I have long said, there is no need to corner the cultivator side too much. If you push them too hard, they might become a significant threat, perhaps forcing a strong figure to emerge. They should be allowed to be more at ease. Yes, even if we completely break through all the cultivator territories, so what? Once those 7 lords have no territorial concerns, they will go completely mad. With the huge hatred between them, the 7 lords will continuously seek revenge. Infinite Snake Ancestor is too confident. It is for the whole infinite race. The fastest way for the infinite race to grow is by consuming the source world origin. Our giant god race can slowly absorb the primordial force. We don't need to consume the source world origin at all. The ancestors were discussing among themselves. The giant god emperor and the others were quite candid too. Acting alone, the giant god emperor indeed has significant weaknesses. However, once teamed up with companions, Primordial Beast Ancestor and Black Tide Ancestor, their methods complement each other. There are no weaknesses. Comparable to 3 entities from the land of eternity joining forces. That's why the 3 of them have the qualification to become the 2nd largest faction of the Innate Primordial Life Camp. 35 ancestors have set off. Led by the giant god emperor. Truly worthy of the Innate Primordial Life Camp, mobilizing such a terrifying force. Reaching the ancestor level, each life form's fluctuation is very strong. Unless someone like Luo Feng, who is adept at life, can restrain all fluctuations. Otherwise, once an ancestor level existence acts, the same level of existence can clearly sense it. A collective action of 35, the terrifying fluctuations can be remotely sensed by forces from all sides in the infinite primordial space. Only the Cultivator Camp and Ice Peak Camp could possibly withstand this collective action of 35, various parties side. Although there are many forces in the infinite primordial space, none have the confidence to withstand 35 ancestors joining forces. The 8 lords of the Cultivator Camp are indeed terrifying, capable of suppressing 73 ancestors, forcing the Innate Primordial Life Camp's ancestors to almost all come out. With over 100 ancestors joining forces, although each of the 8 lords of the Cultivator Camp is very strong, they probably still can't withstand it. Various forces are watching this terrifying confrontation. Cultivator territory. The enormous sphere, Initial Ancestor, hovered there, with numerous ancestors temporarily hiding inside it, restoring strength and patiently waiting for their companions' support. The 8 lords formed a battle array, completely covering this area. 35 ancestors have set off. Yuan looked distantly. Luo Feng and others all looked into the distance. Their gaze could sense and see those 35 ancestors from afar. The giant god emperor and the others have also made a move, Yuan said with a serious expression. The 3 of them joining forces is no less than 3 strong entities from the land of eternity. Starlight Lord frowned. With over 100 ancestors joining forces, especially with the 9 emperors acting together, their overall strength will surpass ours. I will inform everyone of the possible combat scenarios in many future timelines. Luo Feng, Lord Wulan, Jin Mo Man, Naigu, Ming Huang all felt the pressure. The cooperation on the cultivator side is much stronger, with Starlight observing numerous future timelines, and his space-time domain integrates into the entire battle array, plus Yuan's formation, which perfectly coordinates the power of each lord. In comparison, the cooperation on the ancestor side is much cruder, but the sheer number is overwhelming with over 100 ancestors, especially the 9 emperors as the core. Their overall strength is still extraordinarily strong. Winning this battle will make things much easier in the future, Starlight said softly. We must win, Jean gazed into the distance. LuoFeng knew well that, according to the various cooperation plans studied by the lords, he is the key factor in winning this battle. After all, he is the newly broken through one and the external world knows the least about him. The 8 lords waited quietly. Among the Innate Primordial Life Camp's 9 emperors, Initial and Mother of Spacetime are included because of their undying and undying status, as their attack abilities rank middle to lower among the ancestors. However, the other 7 have extremely terrifying strength. It's time. At this moment, the 8 lords were poised to strike. The entire infinite primordial space with some beings of the same level were watching from afar. Boom. Suddenly, the always calm Initial Ancestor erupted with an extremely dazzling light on the surface, encompassing a vast area with infinite brilliance. At the same moment, 35 ancestors also appeared within the area illuminated by this light. The previously hidden ancestors all revealed themselves as well. A total of 105 ancestors completely gathered, except for a few newly advanced ancestors, those who refused to follow orders and severely injured ancestors. The rest have completely assembled. Led by the 9 emperors, a total of 105 ancestors gathered here. Destroy the Cultivator Lords. Annihilate them. This time, the Innate Primordial Life Camp had long prepared a plan, and the moment they gathered, they unleashed their fury without reservation. The highest level of power mastered by the 105 ancestors, after a simple coordination, overwhelmed the 8 lords of the cultivators like a tidal wave. Rumble. The power and domain of the 8 lords, under the array formation deployment, fully resisted. But it only slightly hindered the attack before the endless terrifying onslaught fell upon Wu Lan and Luo Feng. This might, the expressions of Golden Lord, Lord Mo Man, Lord Minghuang and Lord Naigu all changed. In the face of the absolute power of over 100 ancestors combined, unless one's ability to preserve their life is incredibly strong, they would be utterly destroyed. The main battle avatars of these 4 couldn't resist such power. Yuan and Starlight also could only dodge in the face of such might. But in this collective confrontation, while they both could dodge, the other lords couldn't. Boom. Luo Feng and Wu Lan both felt the endlessly heavy might crushing down on them. Haha, exhilarating. Wu Lan laughed loudly, even wanting to actively intercept many powers, his massive body formed by primordial material Dao continuously sustaining injuries, but he didn't care about these injuries. Target Luo Feng. The ancestor side tried to avoid Wu Lan as much as possible, so even if Wu Lan actively wanted to intercept, he could only block about half of the power. The remaining half of the power fell on Luo Feng. The various highest level powers wantonly fell on Luo Feng, corroding, destroying and wreaking havoc. The pressure is a bit much. The protective energy layer on LuoFeng's surface was penetrated again and again, and 10 billion 8 million origins frantically replenishing, along with various forces tearing at and destroying LuoFeng's body. LuoFeng's body cracked with many wounds staining part of his body with blood, with much more severe injuries. But LuoFeng's physical body only accounted for 1 portion of energy, while 10 billion 8 million origins accounted for 10 portions of energy. Even if the physical body was severely injured, Luo Feng, with his terrifying life force, could partially restore from the void. Plus, with the recovery of 10 billion 8 million origins, the physical condition was still within the bearable range. Instead, the protective energy layer consumption was somewhat significant. In the span of a breath, approximately 5% of the energy reserve is consumed. Luo Feng sensed. Previously, facing 73 ancestors, Luo Feng would consume 1% of the energy reserve in the battle array within the span of a breath. Now it had increased 5-fold. Clearly, as the power continued to rise, the damage to Luo Feng would increase exponentially. If the power reached a certain limit, Luo Feng's main battle avatar could also be blasted apart. This Luo Feng withstood it? The numerous ancestors led by the 9 emperors were secretly surprised. They could sense that Luo Feng's body was significantly less resilient than Wu Lan's body, with much more severe injuries. Yet Luo Feng withstood it, continuously maintaining in the pinnacle state. You should also try our Lord's tricks. A voice rang among the many ancestors. Lord Mo Man burned his main battle avatar, and the vast space-time where the ancestors resided suddenly turned into countless musical notes, vibrating. The entire space-time turned into a song, echoing in every ancestor's soul. For the invisible attack targeting both body and soul. Group tactics, no ancestor could avoid it, they could only endure it. The 10+ ancestors who were severely injured last time, although somewhat recovered after 10 days of truce with the help of their companions, still had 3 with rather severe injuries, which suddenly worsened in the face of Lord Mo Man's move. Haha, this time we shall kill a few more ancestors. Jin's voice also rang. He burned all his power into 13 black spheres, which appeared in the area where the ancestors were, erupting instantly and obliterating the surrounding vast area. Subsequently, brilliant golden lightning also descended, striking one by one, locking onto enemies with no escape. Ignore it. Annihilate them quickly. While Mo Man, Jin and Ming Huang were launching moves one after another, the 9 emperors remained unfazed, having already understood the Lord's means. naturally having countermeasures. They couldn't stop these lords' lethal strikes, so they didn't bother defending them. Arranged for the Infinite Ancestor, in cooperation with Mother of Spacetime, Initial coordinated to save some severely injured ancestors, whereas the other 6 of the extremely powerful 9 emperors led the ancestors in a full-force attack. Wulong. Along with an earth-shattering roar. Infinite Snake Ancestor roared, its gigantic figure instantly became blurred, its blurred figure enlarging by 1,000-fold, tens of thousands of times, making it much larger than all the ancestors combined. It bore the name of Infinite. It could indeed become infinitely large, with the largest size even bigger than an entire world cluster, and it could also fuse with the infinite void, becoming completely undying and imperishable. Only in that state it had no attack power. First it became huge and covered Wulong. Then it instantly condensed and shrank. An immense serpent's body confined Wulong completely at the abdomen. Furthermore, 2 terrifying forces merged into the serpent's body, one being the Silent Extinction Ancestor, transforming into a mass of black light wrapping around half of Wulang's body. The other was the Infinite Fire Ancestor, resembling a flaming star, enveloping the other half of Wulang's body. The Infinite Snake Ancestor, Infinite Fire Ancestor, and Silent Extinction Ancestor, all well-versed in confinement, joined forces, making it difficult for even Wulang's formidable body to escape. Previously, the Infinite Fire Ancestor had devoured Wulong, confining her for about a breath of time. Now, with 3 of them working together, Wulong could not break free at all. Break? Wulong struggled with all her might. Despite their lord-level combat power, and with their cooperation, Wulong couldn't break free regardless of her strength. Extinguish Luo Feng. At this moment, 2 ancestors were severely injured and hid within the Initial Ancestor's body. As the 3 Infinite Snake Ancestors held Wulong in check, exactly 100 ancestors remained. These 100 ancestors acted together, weaving a tapestry of highest-level powers directed at Luo Feng. Although missing 3 of the strongest among the 9 emperors, the Infinite Snake Ancestor, Infinite Fire Ancestor, and Silent Extinction Ancestor as commanders, the overall strength of these 100 ancestors decreased by at least 20%, yet this show of power still frightened Luo Feng. Space-time maze. The Starlight Lord took action. Among the ancestors, the highest void attainment belonged to the Infinite Snake Ancestor, who repeatedly clashed secretly with the Starlight Lord. Though disadvantaged, it indeed impacted the Starlight Lord's space-time techniques. Currently, the Infinite Snake Ancestor needed to fully suppress Wulong within. Wulang's resistance was too strong. In this situation, the Infinite Snake Ancestor couldn't fully manipulate the void. As for the Mother of Spacetime, her void attainment was not up to par with the Infinite Snake Ancestor, and her time attainment was far less than the Starlight. Booming. The terrifying power unleashed by the 100 ancestors caused the space-time maze to be fragmented in the face of absolute might. Yet it still forcibly redirected 3 to 4/10 of the power, with the remaining power then impacting the battle array. After being blocked and weakened by the formation, it finally fell upon Luo Feng, who felt it was only about 10% stronger than before, still within the bearable range. This Starlight Lord. The ancestor side was also troubled. With the Infinite Snake Ancestor fully suppressing Wulong, the Starlight Lord could unleash his space-time methods freely. Boom. Amid the terrifying power from the ancestor side, an immense, colossal figure took a step to appear near Luo Feng. Its size was immense, several times larger than Wulong. Its entire body was covered with black golden scales, its enormous wings were exceedingly sharp, and a massive circle of colorful light surrounded it, with endless black mist permeating its surroundings. Giant God Emperor. Primordial Beast Ancestor. Black Tide Ancestor. Luo Feng recognized them at a glance. That immense colorful light domain was transformed by one of the 9 emperors, the Primordial Beast Ancestor, whose body constituted the most terrifying domain in the infinite primordial space. Within their domain, even the Starlight Lord couldn't manipulate any void power. If closely observed, one could see that the enormous colorful light domain was actually a fat giant beast with colorful hair. For every part in the domain was its hair, its body. Other strong figures naturally couldn't manipulate any void power. The Starlight Lord could only escape this domain using the timeline. Outside the colorful light domain, the endless black mist was the transformed body of the Black Tide Ancestor. The Black Tide Ancestor turned into an endless black tide disaster. It was also a disaster domain power. Its domain suppression was weaker than the Primordial Beast Ancestor, yet various disasters befell upon enemies within. The Black Tide Disaster Domain, and Primordial Beast Ancestor Domain, dual domains enveloped the body, combined with its most terrifying body. In this state, the Giant God Emperor had no weaknesses. Bang! It carried the massive domains, tearing through the void to appear in front of Luo Feng. Scram! Luo Feng slashed out a fierce blade, the blade light roared past the Black Tide Disaster Domain, then through the stronger Primordial Beast Ancestor colorful light domain. The blade light was thoroughly submerged, unable to even touch the terrifying body of the Giant God Emperor. The Giant God Emperor approached, with massive arms ready to embrace and huge wings covered forth. Even the colorful light domain and the Black Tide domain engulfed Luo Feng. This domain. The various disaster powers of the Black Tide domain did not bother Luo Feng, as his endless life force could resist. But the bindings of the Black Tide domain and the endless colorful lights shrouding and binding made every movement extremely laborious for Luo Feng. As the giant god emperor's arms and wings enveloped him, Luo Feng couldn't evade, being embraced in an instant. Under the onslaught of 100 ancestors, the battle array of the Lord's side was already under great stress. With the giant god emperor and the others working together, Luo Feng's movement technique was not as proficient as that of the Starlight Lord and others. Crucially, he was resisting the ancestors' encirclement, unable to hide or escape. A mere face-off and he was entangled by the giant god emperor and the others. Good. Target the two with the strongest physical bodies. The ancestors were invigorated. Among the 8 lords, Wu Lan and Luo Feng were the most capable of withstanding power, playing a significant role in the battle array, especially Luo Feng, who could quickly restore his companions to the pinnacle. To deal with Luo Feng and Wu Lan, previously the strength of the Infinite Snake Ancestors and others was insufficient, and the Infinite Snake Ancestor, Silent Extinction Ancestor, Inference Fire Ancestor together could only ensure confining one. With the giant god emperor and the others together, they could ensure the confinement of another lord. Who? After confining Luo Feng, the giant god emperor and the others immediately retreated as their enormous sizes and broad domain ranges significantly affected the other ancestors' encirclement. Upon this retreat, the giant god emperor and the others withdrew into the group of ancestors. Confine me? With the giant god emperor and others jointly suppressing him, as Luo Feng entered the ancestor group, his eyes turned icy. Explode for me. In an instant, Luo Feng's physical body vanished. His physical body transformed into energy, all of it pouring into the 10,000,000,008,000,000 origins. The 10,000,008,000,000 origins was already saturated with energy. As it was forcibly poured, the 10,000,008,000,000 origins suddenly contracted. Subsequently, it erupted into an endless dazzling energy storm, instantly shredding all obstructions and bindings. Bang 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 bang. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.